השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ברית Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'chuni
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. How wonderful it is, how blessed it is to be greeted with the melodies, the hymns, the warmth, the goodness, the wisdom, the generosity, the openness, the inclusion, the shalom, the peace of faith, the peace of Judaism, the peace of community as we invite in the light, the divine light of Shabbat. It's my pleasure to call forward Robin, who will lead us in the kindling of our Shabbat candles. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who've kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר, להדליק נר, להדליק נר של שבת.
We continue as we greet the angels of Shabbat who beckon us, guide us, encourage us to bless our world, bless one another, bless the comings and the goings of every opportunity, of every moment that we are given, especially as we gather on Shabbat.
La 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 la. שלום עליכם, מלאכי השרת, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. La 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 ברכוני לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלאכי השלום, מלאכי עליון. ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. La 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 la
One of the beauties of the Judaism which I have come to embrace as I gotten older is the inclusive vision of Reform Judaism that gives each and every Jew equal access, equal dignity, equal representation, equal ownership in Jewish community. For in a Reformed Jewish community, we don't have seats assigned to privileged few, that a certain section of a person may sit here or there by designation of how much they give or their status. Certainly in Reformed Judaism, each and every person is given the opportunity equally to share and give to a community, to be held in the membership equally, to be afforded the opportunity to give commensurate with their means, commensurate with their conscience each and every year, that no sacred few are given certain benefits over others. And certainly that everyone is given the equal opportunity of a vote and a voice, that our sacred partnership in our community is held together by that idea of equality, not a small number. I remember that in certain persuasions of Judaism and also in other religious communities, one might be afforded a certain measurable honorific or status or stature, maybe even to get a special blessing on the basis of how much they gave or how much they might consider to give, to even designate out honors in the service according to one's financial contributions. No, in Reformed Judaism, we have a much broader, deeper appreciation of what it means to be held in sacred dignity, that we have many ways of giving, many ways of demonstrating our gifts to God, and all are held equal. And so as we rise, as we stand for our call of service, our call to be heard, our call to be seen by the divine, let us be so proud in a world full of inequity that at least in our sacred abode, all are held, young and old, rich and poor, those who came yesterday and those who came from the founding of our temple, all are held equally. Let us be true to that testimony of our faith as we rise for our call to worship, our Baruch Hu, as one.
La 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 Baruch et Adonai Amevorach Baruch Adonai Amevorach Leolam vahed Leolam vahed La 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 la
This is an hour of change. We know that we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Our lifetime of commitments. Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hamariv aravim. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us, and the more we devote ourselves to Torah, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. The Shema begins with the words of listening and ends with the words of Va'ed. Va'ed, Va'ed, forever and ever. Ed also, in our tradition, is a witness, one who witnesses literally by viewing, by being truthful, by being honest. Let us listen honestly to one another. Let us be each other's witnesses honestly. Let us take seriously our sacred commitments honestly. Let us hold one another honestly in how we hear one another and how we respect one another. Certainly always in the sanctuary of Shabbat, in the sanctuary of sacred community, in the sacred community of Solel. Thus might we learn and grow to bear witness and listen fully to all the voices in our world, those that may sometimes be muted or afraid or marginalized. Let us be that sacred witness, helping to elevate the voices, all the voices among us, as we continue to recite those ancient words of wisdom, the doxology, the ancient testimony of our faith, the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto Le'olam, Le'olam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך, ובקומך, ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, מארץ מצרים, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני, אני אדוני, אלוהיכם, אלוהיכם.
Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles as earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace, the song of oneness, the song of equality.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים בם בה ים בם בה, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים בם בה ים בם בים בם 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 בם. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, לעולם 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 ועד. ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים בם בים בם בים בם בם בם. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts. Then we lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukkot shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. לי לי לה 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 לי, לי לי לה 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 לי, שבת וינפש.
Let us rise for our prayer of our ancestors in body and in spirit.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה, רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל.
You're holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Bless you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all struggle find rest on this day. May all suffer find solace. May all hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai b'kadesh ha-Shabbat. Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu b'amcha Yisrael, tefiltam be'avav tekabel, tiyod ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael mecha. You are God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shodcha levadcha birah na'avod. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha l'cha na'eh l'hodot.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Tasim leolam, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, tasim leolam. Tasim leolam, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech, adon lechol, adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech, adon lechol, adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha. Tasim leolam, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, tasim leolam. Tasim leolam, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, tasim leolam.
We take a few moments of silent prayer and private reflection, guiding language that may be found throughout our prayer books, or whichever prayers may spring from our hearts.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום שלום, הוא יעשה שלום שלום עלינו. עלינו ועל כל ישראל, עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו ואמרו אמן. הללויה, 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 הללויה.
As we embrace our time of Shabbat together, we are well aware that we have many among us in need of prayers of support, of healing, of body, mind, and spirit. And so we lift up the names of our congregational family members, our own family members, or even perhaps to ourselves in need of such prayers on this Shabbat. Ann Becker, Richard Blanke, Abe Cohen, Lauren Fayella, Seth Galwasser, Kathy Greenberg, Dr. Robert Greenstein, Don Harvey, Larry Judas, Hannah Cates, Ruth Kornbluth, Phyllis Lewis, Charles Messing, Sharon Metzner, Louis Montiel, Andre Peterson, Elwood Powers, Diana Ramos, Michelle Robinson, Gabrielle Rosenthal, Molly Salsitz, Milena Schroeder, Harry Smith, Larry Smith, Sheila Smith, Amy Sponseller, Ray Strauss, Sally Stanhauser, Charlie Wolf, and Martin Zoffman. We continue with our Mishuberach, our prayer of healing.
Mishuberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. מי שברא אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים. אלנה רפאנה לה, אלנה רפאנה לה, אלנה רפאנה לה, אלנה רפאנה לה. מי שברא אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, הוא יברך וירפא את החולים.
As I made some reference to earlier in the service, I expressed how truly appreciative I was to have discovered later in life, not Judaism. I grew up a Jew, my parents were a Jew, my ancestry is all Jewish, even rabbis among them. But I didn't yet discover Reform Judaism until a little bit later in life, really towards my end of my 20s, beginning of my 30s. And when I thought of going to rabbinical school and thought of going to become a rabbi to serve the Jewish people, I thought deeply about which movement of Judaism to pursue. I had enough of a background. I could have even perhaps gone to an Orthodox rabbinical school. Certainly, I had many, many friends and many still friends that went to become conservative rabbis. And yet, despite the fact that even though I had spent very little time in a Reform temple growing up, I chose Reform Judaism. And so maybe because I, in some ways, felt that connected deeply to the roots of Reform Judaism, I then had to make another choice of which campus to attend, whether to go to Cincinnati or Los Angeles or New York. And what I thought about it, even though I was from the East Coast, and even though I love the warm weather and the beach, that even though maybe perhaps New York, where I had lived even for 5 years, where my mother was from, or perhaps the fact that I heard that in the LA campus they showed up to rabbinical classes, I'm not kidding, in sandals. These are appealing benefits, I guess, when you're spending all of your day and long days in ancient texts. Nevertheless, I decided to go to the campus that was in the heart of the country in Cincinnati, to a city that I had never been to be alongside a Jewish community that I had never known previously existed. One of the reasons I chose to go to Cincinnati was because I sort of liked that Midwestern culture. I liked the way that Midwesterners were, and I thought that I'd appreciate and value the culture of the Midwest, which I did. I really enjoyed it. I thought it fit well with a certain dimension of my temperament, and I like to believe it rubbed off on me a little bit. But more than that, more than even the history, where I know that Reform Judaism was birthed in this country truly as an institution, as a body, as a group, as an institutional force out of the seminary in Cincinnati, even more than the history, even more than the holdings of the scholarship and the teachers, even more than that was the spirit that in Cincinnati there was a deep appreciation, I felt, maybe more so than on the coasts, of an inclusive, universal Reform Judaism. Not a Judaism of elites, not a Judaism that was meant to be held by a particular few, not a Judaism that was myopic or particular, but a Judaism that was proud to say it exists alongside and equal to a largely non-Jewish landscape in an environment where it was offering faith as a beacon, as an alternative, as a guiding force to represent our faith's Jewish values in an inclusive way to all of God's children, Jewish and non-Jewish. And the city of Cincinnati appreciates as one of its crown jewels the Hebrew Union College. This heritage of Reform Judaism that saw within it the essence, the kernel, the ikar, the center, the essence of our faith, not through our outward appearances, not through certain Orientalist behaviors, not through some form of otherness, but in a sense of trying to lift up through the loving, kind embrace of the spirit of our tradition as being equal in glory and in appreciation of all of God's children. That innovative approach where men and women were equal, where poor and rich in a sanctuary were equal, in a lifting up that in a world of all of God's children, that all Jewish and non-Jewish are equal. This is a teaching that does not just derive from modern Judaism. We think of Reformed Judaism as the most modern persuasion of Judaism. However, our Torah portion teaches from this understanding of how Judaism is a gift to all who treasure it by acknowledging in the Parsha of Trumah, which is the Parsha that it asks of us to give of our gifts in the wilderness so that we might assemble and gather for a holy abode, that in the first act of a people in the wilderness, as we are asked to create a tabernacle, a mishkan, where God would dwell. Think about that for a minute. God is everywhere, but we're creating a place for God to be. Doesn't that in some way sound counterintuitive? If God is everywhere, why do we need a place where God might reside, a special place if God can be found everywhere? Because Trumah and its wisdom offers to us that the first act communally, the first act of a community, the first act of the becoming of a people is that together all the people, not just a few, not just those who have, but that all are encouraged to give, to become one sacred community. That by their individual acts of generosity, by their individual acts of giving, that each and every person has the opportunity to feel a sense of connection to the building of that tabernacle, to the building of a sacred space, to the building of a holy abode. In Cincinnati, where Reformed Judaism was truly, I felt, birthed in our country, there was that spirit that all could come and assemble, that all were equal, that all could give. And I have to say that nowadays, I can feel and sense how people in Ohio and in Illinois maybe, and in all these other states in the Midwest, I sense and feel how when we look at the maps of the country and how people vote, I have a sense of how there's this consideration of flyover country as though it just doesn't matter anymore. The people there don't matter because who is really controlling the society from their point of view? It is those who live on the coasts, those who live in the dense urban environments, those who have access to more cosmopolitan, more sophisticated systems, that those are the ones who govern, that those are the ones who control the destiny of the country. And there is, in this frustration, I'd say resentment, sometimes anger, we're experiencing a response. And so I don't think it's any but a sign of the times that they are now considering, I hear, not closing the campus, but actually perhaps eliminating the rabbinical school of the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati. That this is actually a conversation that has happened beginning about 20 years ago, more recently 10 years ago when I was a student there. Now it's reasserted itself for discussion in a serious way. And I have to say that, to me, this whole consideration is not just about the rabbinical Cincinnati, the rabbinical school in Cincinnati. It's not even about those who feel left behind, those who feel a sense of inequality, whether it's from somebody who lives in the Midwest, whether it's somebody who lives in a rural area, whether it's somebody who comes from a disadvantaged, marginalized community. Regardless, there's a sense among many that they feel disconnected from the power of society. And this is a threat. This is a vulnerability to all of us. How do we make the societal institutions of our society, family, government, religion, how do we encourage people to feel more connected? Sometimes I feel that maybe there's a sense that it's the responsibility or the measurement of a select few to dole out, to appropriate out the benefits of the institutions to the many. And when there is that sense of a lack of ownership over the distribution of those resources, over the role that the institution plays in our lives, whether it's government, whether it's any institution, we don't have the same type of claim. We don't have the same type of desire. For the tabernacle is not constructed, it says, in its midst, meaning the tabernacle was not built to be, for God to be in its midst. The tabernacle was constructed so the tabernacle could exist, it says, in their midst, in the midst of the people. The tabernacle exists not only for God to reside in that place, in a special place, but for the people to have a sense of connection to God in their midst. As we think of bold, revolutionary, disruptive plans, ideas for how to help our country be more together, how to make our country and its citizens feel connected, how to be part of creating a society where each and every one is dignified in their own midst, how we feel a sense of inspiration, regeneration of our society. Is this the time really to close the rabbinical school in flyover country? More than that, isn't it time for us to think of a revolutionary idea of our own? That perhaps it's worth revisiting in our own sacred communities. What does it mean to truly be equal? What does it mean for each and every one of us to be encouraged to give generously of our own conscience? How are we encouraged, and what do we teach by elevating the value of giving according to conscience, according to station, according to ability? How do we measure gifts? Is gifts only financial? Is not gifts welcoming one another to the community? Is gifts not also tending to those who are sick or ill? Is gifts not also coming together at special celebratory occasions like Shabbat, like our festivals? At some point, we in Reformed Judaism might recognize ever more fully the wisdom of our founders to create an inclusive, embracing Reformed Judaism where all are encouraged to gather equally by their many gifts, by their many abilities, each according to their own. And when we elevate that sensibility in our faith, perhaps then religion, Judaism, can be the partner that we hope and know that it can be, to be that source of inspiration and connectedness that helps each and every one of us feel connected not only to the houses of worship, but also so too to the institutions of our society. Ken hi ratzon, may it be God's will. Let us rise for the adoration.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Let the time not to be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then we may feel and sense the tabernacles, the institutions in our midst, and our realm of the divine be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We think of our loved ones who died and passed at this season in years beforehand, as well as also those who have been taken from us recently. William Bassoff, Benjamin Benson, Esther Carey, Benjamin Cohen, George Cohen, Evelyn Cohen, Moshe Friedenreich, David Friedman, Murray Furst, Jody Gale, Nancy Gerber, Jeannie Goldberg, Ruth Goldner, Dr. Seymour Goldstein, Isidore Gordon, Ricky Gottlieb, Stephen Graham, Marilyn Green, David Harris, Harry Hertzberg, Therese Katzen, Harold Klein, Mildred Lichtman, Leonard Loberfeld, Fanny Mark, Joseph Mondre, Louis Mondre, Israel Novik, Harry Pugach, Esther Reich, Hattie Reich, Edward Robbins, Harry Rosen, David Rosenberg, Bertha Rosenstein, Sydney Sefier, Herta Cecil, Frida Silverman, Shirley Slavin, Joseph Trelin, Lance Turgle, Lola Verchik, Arlene Wallach, Jack Waltman, and Charles Plost. Let us rise as able, in body or in spirit, for our mourner's Kaddish. Yikadal v'ikadash shemei Rabbi, be'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomichon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbi mevorach le'olam olmei amaya. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'pa'ar v'tramam v'naseh. Vitadar, Vitaleh, Vitalal, Shmei de Kudesha, Brichu. Leilam min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mirmav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn, to which we offer. Amen. Friends, please be seated. A few words of announcements and a Shabbat greeting from our past president, David Topham.
Shabbat Shalom from Temple Solel. It's an honor for me to be the board representative to greet you this Shabbat and for many Shabbats before. It is a gift that you all are giving me, and I really appreciate it. Become one of Rabbi Plost's Torah study students. Join him tomorrow morning at 9:30 for an interesting and fun hour with your friends. I promise it is an enjoyable time. On Sunday, religious school begins at 10 a.m. We thank all of our educators and volunteers that make Sundays so extraordinary for our children. And next Friday, the 11th of February, Shabbat services begin at 7:30, led by Rabbi Plost and Cantor Rosen. The new date for the Brotherhood organizational meeting and get-together is Wednesday, February 23rd. Please keep an eye out in the Pathfinder for specific details as the date becomes closer. And the new date for Mitzvah Day is February 27th at Dania Beach Patch Garden. We will be building a compost center, filling backpacks for clients of the Jewish cupboard, planting parsley for Pesach, and making tzedakah boxes, which are only a few of the activities in store for us that day. And this is great news. October 21st and 22nd is our new date for our Golden Jubilee celebration. So put a big smiley face in your calendar for that weekend. As we recall Rabbi Plost's sermon last week, let's all hope that this year's Olympics will be both safe and fun as the world's countries unite in Beijing, a sacred community. That being said, let's all keep an eye out for the Jewish figure skater Jason Brown during the games. He will be skating to the soundtrack of Schindler's List. This will be Brown's second trip to the Olympics. He received a bronze medal at the Sochi Games in 2014, but did not make the team in 2018. But he's back now as the oldest member of the figure skating team, rather than the youngest member back in 2014. He stood in 4th place last month in the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, which gave him the opportunity to represent the United States in China. Brown became a bar mitzvah in 2007, grew up as a Reform Jew, and attended Jewish summer camp. He's also an alumnus of Birthright Israel, and stated that his biggest impact on that trip to Israel was his visit to Yad Vashem. And by the way, Israel has 6 athletes competing in the Winter Games in figure skating, short track speed skating, and alpine skiing. I don't think they practice on Mount Sinai. Good luck to all of the athletes, and Shabbat Shalom.
I personally always enjoy curling. Let us rejoice with our prayer of Kiddush as we consecrate our Shabbat.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחילנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת אמן לחיים.
L'chaim, l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. As we conclude with our final hymn of Adon Olam.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא לעת נשא וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בתשען ואהירה ועם רוחי גוויעתי אדוני לי ולא הירא.
Let us hold by our sacred inheritance gifted to us from our Parsha of Truma, that we each give of the generosity from our hearts, that we contribute fully by the many gifts that God has given to us, and that we always reach out ever more solely to the brave, equal world that God wishes for all of God's children. Shabbat Shalom.